Hi, this is Caitlin Carter. This is the required skill module on nutritional counseling for Clinic 3050. So when talking about nutrition, I feel like it's kind of a fine-edged sword because talking about nutrition is super important, but is also a place where people can feel like judgment or shame or just general insufficiency where nutrition is involved. For some people, that may tie into weight issues, overweight or underweight issues they've had their whole life, disordered eating, just how people feel about their just nutrition in general can be very broad. But I also feel like it's something that everybody feels they can improve on, regardless of how they're eating. So in talking about nutritional counseling, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm not sure if I will have people do like a food log or not. This module says, to review a food log, but I'm kind of leaning towards that I will probably not do that. My current preceptor does not do them. My previous preceptor did. I see pros and cons to both. The clientele that my current preceptor sees is we see a lot of low income people who are really just happy to have food at all, regardless of whether or not their beef was grass fed or not. So I think that's why she doesn't. So anyway, this is not talking about preceptors. This is about what I would be doing. So I think that I would just start a nutritional conversation by saying, by starting with a conversation like, how do you feel? How's your body feeling? And that may, if people are feeling nauseous, if they're having some morning sickness, that can be a really good lead into a conversation about, so say for example, the client says, I'm just not being able to hardly eat anything. I just feel nauseous all the time. So I would say, I'm so sorry. Are you finding anything that that makes it better or makes it worse? And the client may say like, well, I'm really nauseous in the morning. Like if I wake up and eat something really plain, some crackers or a piece of toast or something like that, then I can at least function and can get out of bed. And that's, that's perfectly understandable for someone who's feeling very nauseous. It's hard to tell somebody, that they should be getting up and eating 2 or 3 eggs with avocado and tomato slices when they can barely stomach 3 crackers. So if they say they're, just eating a piece of toast in the morning, then I would go on to ask more questions about like, what does the rest of your day look like? Are you nauseous all day long? Does it end at some point in time? And aside from helping work out, some tips for nausea and things like that, that would be my segue into like, are you being able to eat more throughout the rest of the day? Because it is my job as a care provider, to make sure my client is being able to eat and nourish her body and nourish her baby. So, maybe the client says, yeah, like, I don't know, 10 or 11, I kind of start feeling a little bit better. And then by 2 o'clock, it's totally gone. And then, nausea will kind of creep back in the evening. I'll say, okay, so when you're not nauseous, like, are you being able to eat normally? Yeah, I can totally eat normally throughout the afternoon. That's no problem. And I'll say, okay, what does normal look like for you? And that, is kind of a little gateway for them to answer, kind of what might be normal for them. And that can be a good gauge for me to be able to identify holes in their diet. This client is eating fats and carbs and is not getting any, healthy fats and basically no protein. So then I can work, say, I'm glad that you're being able to eat a variety of things in the afternoon. Because you're not being able to eat any protein in the morning, it's really important to, to get in as much protein and healthy fats in the afternoon as we can. So I may go through and help them identify some different ways to do that. And that would kind of depend on some of the things that they like. I might ask what type of protein sources they like, or if they know what protein might be. That would be things like eggs or meat or cheese or yogurt or cottage cheese or peanut butter, kind of nuts in general. See if there's any of those type of things that they like or that they eat regularly. And see just kind of what's manageable for them. Because I think that most people really want to eat as best they can, because they know that they're growing a baby, and they know that that's important. So different clients, say the client walks in, this is the third or fourth visit by now, and maybe they're starting to feel better, getting into that sweet second trimester zone. And I might say, how's eating going for you? Are you having digestion or bloating, anything like that, indigestion? And that can be a segue into, okay, well, if you're having really bad heartburn at night, like what are you eating prior to that? Like, what does a normal dinner look like for you? And can just try to help troubleshoot some of those kind of things. And again, that gives me a good idea about like what a normal dinner might look like for this client. And if they say, yeah, no, I can eat enough that everything's going great, I'll say, okay, well, are you being able to eat like a wide variety of things? Are you being able to eat, fruits and vegetables and meat? Do you like fish? Do you eat eggs? Like, are you being able to eat a wide variety of things? Again, that can be another little segue into talking about the different things that they're eating. And some of it is season dependent too. People will come in and say like, oh my gosh, I've been eating so much fruit. I'll say, this is a great time of year for fruit. What are your favorite kinds of fruit? What are you being able to eat with fruit? Apples are super crunchy in the fall. Awesome. Are you being able to pair that with some almond butter or something and be sure you're getting some protein in with your fruit? I may ask people if they're having food aversions. I've heard people say like, oh, I can eat almost anything except for I just can't eat meat. Obviously, that's a red flag. Okay, let's talk about that. I don't expect people to eat things that they're having a huge aversion to, but I think it's really important to help the client figure out some ways around that, and not even necessarily eating meat, just making sure they're getting it in enough other protein sources. Another question is, are you craving anything? People often say like, I'm really craving sweet things or bread, bagels or whatever. I'll say, okay, well, that can be one of those things that our bodies really want to grab because it's a quick sugar source, but that's something that like spikes your blood sugar and then kind of drops you off. Is there any way we could pair any of those cravings with some good proteins or fats? If you want a bagel, fabulous. Can we add some cream cheese to it or some avocado to it? Something like that, that those sources can help your body get that boost and then can level it out a little bit so you don't get that crashy feeling afterwards. I feel like all of these are just kind of good ways to sneak in little educational pieces about how they're already eating. Sometimes people really need to know, like, hey, insufficient protein leads to anemia. You're telling me you're fatigued, that you don't feel great. We just drew some labs. Your hemoglobin and hematocrit are lower. You're anemic. That's your body's way of telling you, like, you really need more protein in your diet. So nutrition around anemia is slightly different, but, still encouraging protein. I feel like I'm talking about protein a lot. A lot of the good sources of iron are red meats and poultry and seafood. your oysters and clams, things like that as well, paired with something that's really high in vitamin C, can help your body absorb all of that. Sometimes people might be really busy. They're a super busy mom. They're, working. They get off work. They pick up their kids from daycare. They rush home, and they may be getting in one decent meal a day, but are just eating out of a vending machine at work the other days, or the other meals in the day. So this would be a conversation to have about, let's talk about prepackaged foods. The prepackaged foods can be things like hard-boiled eggs. A hard-boiled egg has like 6 or 7 grams of protein. Some of those are easy grab and go type things. Yogurt or string cheese or anyway, lots of things that we can talk about. A food prep day, family food prep day. There's lots of things. I have my new favorite book is Real Food for Pregnancy, and this is a lending library book that I have for people that have specific questions or concerns. Some people are a lot more aware of nutrition and are worried that eggs don't seem to be really great in their diet. Like, they're not really allergic, but they don't feel good when they're on them, but they know they need really good source of choline. So I would highly recommend that book. I also feel like it's really important to know that my clients don't know that I don't expect perfection by any means. The foods that we're putting into our body, they're to nourish their bodies and help them feel the best they can during pregnancy. It is to grow a healthy baby, and it is to make sure their body is as ready for labor and birth as they can be, and to support them in the postpartum. So I feel like those are all the things that I kind of wanted to talk about. I feel like nutrition is very much an individualized thing. Anybody, people are just so different. It's a different conversation every single time. Another thing that I really like that I tend to be swayed towards is doing a food log and home monitoring for blood, for GDM testing or screening, because I feel like that's even more, like if we've been kind of building on the education throughout their pregnancy, that by the time 28 weeks rolls around, if they want to test their blood sugar with what they're eating at home, I think I've seen people, myself included, learn so much about how their body is handling the foods that they're eating and how their bodies respond to those different things. I feel like that's just kind of an added benefit. And I feel like pregnancy can also be a really amazing time because people are willing to make changes because suddenly somebody else is relying on what they're eating as well. Something that I forgot to mention, that I do kind of try to mention early on in pregnancy is you may have heard the myth about, well, you're pregnant now you're eating for 2. That is a common fallacy in our culture. And while I encourage clients to listen to their body and eat what their bodies are telling them to, eating while being pregnant is more like eating for 1.1 people. That can just be like an extra small snack in the afternoon, something like that, that we don't need to eat for 2. That's anyway, also something that I like to mention. Again, all case dependent. Just meet the client where they're at, see how you can help them improve from there, and make sure they're getting enough nutrients to be healthy and grow a healthy baby. I feel like that's where I should be done. Thank you.